Kicking it with KeKe. Kicking it with KeKe. Kicking it with KeKe. Full of personality. Switching up the storyline on God, we making history.
Writing books, changing lives, one day at a time. Put your problems to the side. Enjoy yourself. Free your mind.
Kicking it with KeKe. What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of Kicking It with KeKe, Life, Love, and all that other shit. I am joined with a panel of beautiful women today, and we are talking relationships. How are you ladies doing tonight?
Pretty well. Pretty good.
Hey.
Y'all
Doing
look
good.
beautiful.
Hey.
Y'all
Doing
look
good, doing good.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being a part of this amazing event. I cannot wait for people to hear what we're about to talk about. If you are listening in to the podcast, I suggest that you go over to Kicking It with KeKe YouTube channel so you get to see the behind the scenes and see how everyone looks and what we have going on. Before we get started, y'all know I like to do a mental check-in just to see how everybody is doing. So how are you ladies doing?
Doing good,
No
doing good.
How you doing,
I
Mama?
am well.
Wonderful.
I am doing great.
I'm kicking it with KeKe, and I'm loving every minute with these beautiful ladies. I'm doing wonderful.
That was my mama, y'all.
I am doing phenomenally well.
Yes. So I did the all male panel with this topic a couple of weeks ago. And I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all know that the guys were on their stuff, y'all. And it is so funny how I said, okay, now we've heard what y'all had to say, so I need to bring my ladies in so we can talk back, right? The topic is, why is it said that men are taught how to treat women, but women aren't taught how to treat men? I would like to get everyone's input on that particular question, one by one, if you don't mind. I'll go ahead and let Ingrid kick it off since she's the first one on my screen. So Ingrid, why is it said that men are taught how to treat women, but women aren't taught how to treat men? What do you have to say about that particular question?
Well, I've never heard it posed, or the question posed the way you have posed it. And I've never really thought about, has a man truly been taught how to treat a woman? And vice versa. So I don't know who teaches the man, and if I can say they've been taught wrong. But who teaches the female how to treat the male?
Okay.
And so I would have to go to some scriptures from the Bible that I cannot quote book and verse, but there are scriptures that talk about how the younger woman is supposed to look up to the older woman to learn certain things. But I don't really equate those things with how to treat a man. And are we talking about a man as far as
husband,
your mate, your husband?
A mate. I think that the guys, because it was brought to my attention from a guy's Instagram, one of my friends, Nicholas, and he was a part of the all male panel, and he threw it out there and I took the bait, and I was like, where did you get that question from? We have to do a podcast about it. I want an all men's panel, and I'm gonna do a all women's panel. And he was like, I did not know that us having this conversation would turn into podcast episodes. So here we are. And he was just saying how a lot of people have the roles reversed or mixed up when it comes to who teaches whom, how to treat whoever. And so that's why I wanted to ask you guys your side of it, because like I said, you have to listen to the men's part to see who said what and what they were talking about. So I'll go ahead and ask Alisa. Go ahead and tell us your thoughts on that particular topic.
I'm kind of like Ingrid. I don't know. I guess I was just thinking about my own personal experiences, and that was something my mom and I never talked about growing up, like how to treat a man. So I guess if I think about, my previous marriage, by having a conversation with the ex-husband, okay, well, what are things that you like? How can I make you feel respected, appreciated? So I think for me, talking to the source, going straight to the source, because what works for one guy, of course, it may not work for the other. Same thing, with us as females.
Okay. All right, Dakisha, I see you had your hand raised, baby. Go ahead and go ahead. Let me hear what you have to say.
Definitely. I would say for me, I think it's more of a learned behavior. Growing up, we as women, we kind of tend to pattern or look up to our mothers and grandmothers and how they treat their husbands, how they treat our dads and grandfathers. And that's kind of where we start off at. Mm-hmm. And then it goes back to what Alisa said when she said, go to the source itself. So initially it's learned behavior from how you were raised, this your upbringing. Mm-hmm. Growing up in my house, I seen my grandmother making sure my grandfather had a hot meal. I seen my mama making sure my dad had a hot meal when he came home, whether it was cooked or she went out and bought something. It was never left up to him to see, to seek food. She made sure that was done unless it was already, communicated prior to. I seen where she would fix his plate. At my house, my dad never ate out of a paper plate. He always ate out of a glass plate. So when I became an adult and got married, I patterned myself the same way. I did the same thing for my husband. I would fix his plate. He didn't eat out of a paper plate. He ate out of a glass plate. I may eat out of a glass plate. I may eat out of a paper plate because I just don't want to wash the dishes. But for him, he always had that glass plate. I fixed his plate. I put it on a table, or if he was sitting down, I would bring it to him. But those are the things that I saw my grandmother and my mom do. So for me, it's a learned behavior. And then into the marriage, you make adjustments as you go and grow, because some things, you guys are going to compromise, because my grandmother didn't work. My grandfather did. Nowadays, we work. We do the same thing they're doing. So there are some areas of compromise, but as women, we still take the lead roles on the inside of the household. And that comes from our mothers and grandmothers and watching what they did.
All right, Mama, let me hear what you have to say. What you have to say about this particular topic.
Well, from growing up, just like Dakisha said, I looked at my grandmother, the way she loved her husband, and he always respected her no matter what she did or said. He never said anything bad to her. He always respected her, whatever she did. She always okay, she cooked his hot meals. He ate at the table. He never said anything to make her feel bad or angry or upset. It was just a lot of love. And he always told the men of the family to love your wife and respect your wife, and love your daughters so they can see a man,
loving on him. Mm-hmm.
No, they see the man that remind them of him. Mm-hmm. Because he was a loving dad, a grandfather. And just like you said, you just got to give love in order to receive love. It comes from both sides, the man and the lady. And I never ever seen them fuss or have any kind of fight or nothing like that. And I always said, if I ever get married, I wanted to be a man just like my grandfather. He was the man that I always look up to. Out of all the grandchildren that he had, I was the number one. And I look at that and I see that, and I just love that, because of the fact that most men now, it's hard for them to really be the man and the head of the house because of the way they was raised up, the way they came up. But it is what it is. And just like you said, you have to show love, to receive love, and that's it,
Okay. Alexia, what you have to say about this particular topic?
I feel like so much has already been said. So there's a huge part of me that's going to repeat a lot. I definitely feel like a lot of stuff is, of course, learned behavior. And what I will just say is I'm learning as a 35-year-old woman in relationship dynamics is accountability, and also learning to unlearn stuff. And so even as your mom has said, it takes two people want to love, to want to commit. And for me as well, also understanding that with my family dynamics in terms of who taught perhaps my dad how to, I guess, show up for my mom. I couldn't really say because both of his parents were actually deceased before I was born. And then I know that they passed away very young. When he was young, they passed away pretty early. And so a lot of the times with the dynamics in my household, my dad was the cook and my mom hated it. And honestly, I loved his cooking more than hers. And then just in terms of, I guess, as well, like their dynamics in terms of how they showed up for each other. Like my dad was definitely the alpha male. And while I knew that they loved each other, I don't feel like it was always modeled on the level of what you might see on TV. Like it was not a Family Matters, the Huxtables type situation or whatever, where everybody's hugging and blah, blah, blah. And so I feel like, again, just for myself, number one, understanding that they did the best that they could with what they had, but also learning that I internalized a lot of those patterns, and then now learning to unlearn stuff that doesn't necessarily serve the way that I want to love a man and how I want a man to love me.
Okay, Erica, jump on in there for me.
For me, again, it's a lot of good points, but I think the question that you asked was, why is a man taught to treat a woman, but a woman is not taught to treat a man? And everyone touches on the marriage aspect of that relationship. But before we even get into the marriage, you have to reach manhood and womanhood. Therefore, I believe you have to show someone, otherwise to show someone, you're teaching them and they're learning. So you have to show a girl how to love herself. You have to show her love and show her how to respect herself and respect others. The same as a boy. To teach him how to be a man, you have to show him when he's still a boy how to love himself and to how to respect others. So that foundation of love and respect, to me, has to be built before they can turn into the man and the woman that they're yet to become. Because like someone mentioned earlier, you can't just teach a man how to respect all women, because all women demand different things. You can't just teach a woman how to respect all men, because all men demand different things. What this lady may tolerate from her man and think it may be not disrespect, for me, I may feel that's a little bit disrespectful, and I don't want to be, treated as such. I don't want to be treated as such. Like, I for an example, like some women say, "Oh, that's my old man." I don't want to call my husband or my boyfriend my old man.
No, man. That's
Like backwoods type thing. I don't agree with it. That is my husband, or that is my significant other. That is my love. That's my babe, or whatever. Some women don't like to be called babe. Some men call their women, "Hey, that's my bitch," and she might think that that's okay. But for me, if that man in that relationship with her and develop a relationship, he's not going to be allowed to call me his bitch. No. So I think that it's based off individual to individual, you know. So you have to just basically lay that foundation of love and respect when they're a young boy and a young girl. And with the other values and characteristics that they're going to learn throughout that journey, they're going to grow into the man and woman that they are yet to become. And then as they experience life and different relationships, they're going to, run into different people with different, views on things. And they're going to develop like, hey, sometimes you have to switch up, how you treat certain people, certain individuals. Sometimes you just have to switch that up with different cultures and backgrounds and, things like that. So it's a growing process that you're going to continue to learn.
Absolutely. Miss Debra, what do you say, ma'am? How are you? Thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm doing good. You're welcome. A lot of the things I've heard, I agree with. Also, it's a learned behavior with me from what I saw of my mother and my aunts and grandparents. But I think it's kind of two-sided when you think about how females have been taught to treat a man, and that man have been taught by someone how a woman should treat him. So I see a lot of differences, but as I grew up, I have learned how to, you know, almost like dedicate the things that should be done, especially when you have a husband, and taking care of them, cooking for them, you know, trying to show that respect. But as your mom said, it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
And then that where everything builds to where it should be. Yes. As a young girl, I didn't know everything, you know. I still don't know everything because, you know, things change. But I just know what I know, and how I want to be treated is how you'll be treated. Respect. And, you know, I'll take care of you, you take care of me. And that's the way it's supposed to be, to death do us part, you know? Yes. So that's the way I feel about it.
Okay. Miss Porsha, what do you have to say, ma'am? I know you about to give it to us, girl.
Okay, so for me, it was a lot of what has already been said. Like, it was things that were learned both, you know, from watching my mom, watching my grandmother with my grandfather, and also in watching them, learning the things that I wanted in a relationship, and also watching the stuff about their relationships that I absolutely did not like.
Right.
And learning, like, okay, I don't like that, and I see what she did or he did that led to this whole unnecessary situation. Or you know what, I really wouldn't want my husband to react to me that way if I said that, or that was a real, like, just, you know, all those little things. So watching how the women in my family treated their husbands, and also observing how the men in my family treat their wives, and just kind of really being observant of those dynamics and what it is I want and what it is I don't want. And also looking at, you know, as I grew older and began dating and stuff like that, and looking at the men like, okay, so y'all ain't nothing like the men that raised me.
Right.
So some of this stuff, a lot of stuff is not going to apply. And then also, unfortunately, a lot of where women learn stuff is where a lot of people nowadays, especially if you were born after, you know, the 90s or so, social media and movies. That's where they learn to treat each other, because they you know, emulate what they see on the screens and what they hear in the songs and stuff. And you see it as a result. If you're currently in the dating world or have been recently, you see it in how men and women interact with each other. And it's so very different from when I was growing up as a child, watching my mom and dad and watching my grandparents on both sides, watching them versus trying to date someone now. And I think, like, as this has been said, there are a lot of things that we need to unlearn, whether it's from our family or from whatever media. And it's also about self-love and what, you know, you're willing to accept, and knowing yourself, and what you're willing to accept from someone else, and what you're willing to accept from yourself.
Absolutely. So do you guys believe that societal expectations have transferred the roles when it comes to men and women and the position of the family structure, whether married, dating, you know, partnerships, or what have you? Do you believe that societal expectations have kind of like tarnished the roles of the way a man is supposed to be versus how a woman is supposed to be?
I want to speak on this one, KeKe.
Okay.
Listening to like the males podcast, and I know I had this discussion with our brother.
Okay.
He believed that it did change, and he goes back and he speaks on the feminist movement. And he said that a lot of the roles changed when the feminist movement started. One of my things was, I don't believe that the feminist movement was created to change the structure of the household.
Within the house.
Within the house, right. The feminist movement was for, equal rights, to be seen as, equal to a man, to vote, to have equal pay, to have, some of the same jobs that they have, because we are equipped to do some of the same things. Therefore, we were trying to become a man's helpmate, because you can't just depend on the man to be that provider. If he gets sickly or he's, he can't provide, then guess what? If I am his better half, then it is my job to make sure that our family, our household is intact. So if I have to go out there and bring home the money and stuff like that. But also, I think that if you are, if you believe in a biblical sense of how households supposed to be, ran, then it shouldn't have changed. It should not change. What goes on in society does not have to change what goes on in your home, because you have control over your home. You have control over your marriage, your kids, your family. Yeah, they can be outside influences, but at the same time, that's where you have to build that strong foundation within. Therefore, when you are faced with the outside, it's not easily going to tear down that home. I do believe society does have take a part on what goes on, because a lot of times people believe that the women just supposed to do domestic work, meaning cook, clean, take care of kids, bear kids, they cook, clean, take care of your husband and stuff like that. And the man for society is supposed to be the one to go out and work, be that provider, come home, bring home the bacon while the wife fried up, but that's not also always true. We have evolved from those days. Those days are back then where you were taught, hey, women really didn't have to get an education, because their job was to find a good husband, marry, have his kids, and he's going to provide for her. Those days we have evolved and we've changed now. So you don't have to be, a kept woman anymore. You can actually be seen as, an equal, a helpmate, what we were designed to be.
I love that. I do love that. And
awesome.
I love that you say that, because so many people are influenced by social media, and you wouldn't be influenced if you stay your ass off of it. Like, stay off of it. You ain't got to check your Facebook and your doggone Instagram 24/7,
Well, you, for one, know I have no social media. I've lived 38 years with no social media. I've never had a MySpace, a Facebook, a Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat.
And I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not knocking social media, because I know I post a lot because I'm trying to build my brand and whatever, and Kickin with KeKe is about to, but I feel like, and we did, the guys did talk about this a little bit, about how one of them said that he tries to show how the family structure of a man and a wife and the kids going out doing certain things, and put that out as a positive vow for Black love and all this kind of stuff on social media. And then he was countered by someone saying that, society, people expect so much from you. They want to know what you're doing, because people put it out there so much. So when you don't share something, they feel like, oh, it's trouble in paradise. Oh, they must be having problems or whatever. So the fact that you put so much out there, I feel like it's the person who is pressing the button on posting this picture or posting, I'm out here doing this and this and that should be checked a little bit and say, hey, you don't have to put everything out there for everybody, because people prey on that. And, when it comes to societal expectations, I think that everything, it's a good and bad thing for everything. So everything that you see that looks all good and glamorous, you never know the behind the scenes, because they're not showing all of that. So anybody else want to jump in when it comes to societal expectations, changing the roles within the family structure? All right, Porsha.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to jump in after her.
Okay.
Okay. So I think, and yes, the feminist movement did have a lot to do with it, because there was definitely a change, and you can see it when you look back generations, where women were raised to get a husband and be that homestead and the one who ran the house, to now we are not raised with the expectation, or not, I shouldn't say expectation, we are not raised with the mindset to get a husband. We're not taught that. We're raised with the thought, you are going to do what you have to do, and you are going to, you know, whatever you set your mind to, you're going to do it, whether or not you have a man, period. Mm-hmm. So we're not taught to even need a man. Mm-hmm. Like we're not versus, you know, yeah, we're not taught to even need a man. So because of that, there has been, in some ways, a breakdown in how we treat our men, because we don't know how to need them or to show them that we need them.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
a
deep.
lot.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. I like what she said, but I guess I'm so deep into my the part of learning that feminist movement that I feel that the feminist movement was made for all of us, if you know what I mean. Cultures. And I think that a lot of feminist movement did want us to be independent, but I learned a lot of independence from my mother because she was so strong, and to make sure that I knew how to take care of myself and not want a man to do everything for me. So I feel that the feminist movement, I've learned a lot about it through going to school, and I've always thought it was for different cultures. I don't think it was just meant for us, because some of the things that goes through the feminist movement, we don't agree with, all of us.
Right.
And so, you know, it has a lot of good things for us as Black women to learn from, add on to our personal lives and things like that. But I don't think all the way that it was put out there for us to just, you know, grow with and take, like from society. They teach a lot of stuff in society. Just like, you know, lately, you know, because of some of the influence we had in the White House, men have changed and thought we're supposed to do everything. And they could do whatever they want with us, you know, and that ain't happening.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So, not at all. Miss Debra has spoken. That is not happening.
You know, there's a lot of mixed, you know, thoughts I have about that. And we're
going to get into a little bit more of that. You know, I'm just trying to talk about, you know, the societal expectations, because society plays a big role in the family structure, I do believe. And I'm just trying to get everybody's insight on if y'all agree, disagree, what have you, when it comes to men being taught how to treat women, but women not taught how to treat men. I mean, right. I really do believe that question stemmed from a man.
I do too, because most times it's the other way around. Women know how to treat men and men don't know how to treat women.
You got the right number? You want to say something, Mama?
No, go ahead.
Oh, you was agreeing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say something where she just said? Said she believes it's the other way around, because women know how to treat men, but men don't know how to treat women. And it's crazy that you say that, because most men, especially Black men in the Black community, why shouldn't they already know how the basics of how to treat a woman? Because if you look at it statistically, they already coming from a single parent household. And most single parent household is that mother or that grandmother that's raising that man. Right. So if you're being raised by that mother or that grandmother, then he should already have the basics, because he's seeing her day in and every day, how she's providing for him and how she's trying and struggling to teach him how to be a man. So it should be, men shouldn't already know how to treat a Black woman. I'm gonna say all women, a Black woman, not any type of woman. I'm talking about the women that were in my mom's time frame. And I'm pretty sure all of the women on this panel know what type of Black woman that I'm speaking of, because they probably still got a grown man at home that they still teaching and taking care of. So I do think that, you know, we as women, we didn't get all of that, because yeah, we did see it from just watching our moms, our grandmothers treat how our fathers or our grandfathers. But still today, young men are still being raised in single parent households where the father is missing. Therefore, why aren't they learning how to treat a woman when they're being raised by that woman?
That's a great question. Anybody want to
agree.
dive in and answer that?
I would
Alexia, I
just
know
say,
you wanted to say something.
like, for me, it's again understanding that, because number one, I get that the whole emphasis of like this call is we're kind of generalizing an entire group of men, and I'm sure on the men's panel it was kind of vice versa. And my thing is, again, we are not a monolithic race, and just even within females, it's like, what do you value? So it goes back to your sister's comment before about self-love. Like, number one, everything to me has to be rooted in self. What it is that you know that you value, how do you want to be treated? And then to your point too about society and social media, like if social media is your thing, I'm on there sometimes, but me learning to stay in my own damn lane.
Right.
Like what works for some people will not work for me. And again, it goes back to learned and unlearned behavior. I've always considered myself to be pretty damn unorthodox. Like, yes, I'm rooted in Christianity, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to go like word for word off of what is being said. Because even growing up, I was that child that liked to be outside. So on some level, I never fell into the normal gender roles per se. Like I was the girl outside with my dad, mowing the damn lawn, like all of these things. So I was never the typical girl that wants to cook and do all of these things. And so again, what is it that you value? Some men, because they have, to your point, like growing up in a single parent household with women. Well, I know people that I've dated, if they've grown up with a single mom, they learned how to do things such as cook, such as clean. So they ain't valuing a damn woman that brings that to the table, because I already know how to do this. Like, what else can you do besides cook and clean? And so again, for me, it's not about what everybody else is doing. It's learning within your own relationship dynamic, learning how to communicate about what it is you want, what are your expectations, and then allow everybody else to do what the hell works for them.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. When it comes
to societal reasons, in addition to the feminism or the feministic movement, we have the government programs such as welfare that was truly created for the Caucasians. But in our Black community, welfare provided a means for that woman to take care of her children, devoid of the Black male. So that is a breakdown in our family structure and our relation structure. So we that right there takes a part of a way of how to treat the man. We don't have a man. We don't need the man. We got the government. We have this check, that's the check of the food stamps, that's coming in to help us, to supplement where the man should be stepping in. And so then the other side of that is laws were made so strict for us, for the Black community, for the Black man. So when that Black man is arrested or charged with something, that takes away from our family structure too. And again, we have the women, the female, to become the head of the household, to become the sole provider of the children.
Mhm.
So without the man being there, you know, we don't pursue how to take care or how to treat, how to respect, how to love, how to nurture this man.
So do you believe that because of the family structure being split per se, that the woman's role, the women's role, our role has been to be a mother, to provide for the kids and not worry about the man at all? Do y'all believe that that is kind of how it went?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like even with the family structure, like the question was brought up earlier, with men being raised in single family households where they were raised by their mom or that grandmother. A woman can teach a boy that's becoming a grown man how to be a good person. They cannot teach him how to be a good man. And because they can't teach him how to be a good man, they can teach him how a good person and a good man are two different things. Because a woman, she's not a man, she can't show him that example of how to be a good man. She can't teach him how, as a man, you need to treat a woman. And that's why we got so many men out here that got stuff like ass backwards. But and same thing when you have single parent households where it's only the dad and he has mostly girls, he can't teach that little girl how to be a good woman. Now, that parent, whether it's the single father or the single mother, they can teach them how to be a good person. They can teach them what they may expect of what they expect of a woman or a significant other. But also that child, when they become grown, they're not dating their parents. So it still doesn't apply.
When the guys, I'm glad you talked about this because that was one of my questions. Do you think a woman can teach a boy how to be a man? Everybody on the panel said that a woman can teach a man how to be a gentleman, but it takes another man, whether it's the mother putting a strong, effective male in front of her son, or even with the daughter and being raised by the dad. A dad can teach a girl how to be a lady, but not how to be a woman. All of the guys agreed saying that it takes another man to show that boy how to be a man, whether he was a stepfather, whether he was an uncle who played a part. It is up to that woman to direct that boy to someone that she trusts, another male figure that she trusts to guide her son to be that man. Because one of the guys on the panel was saying how it doesn't matter if the male, the dad's is not living or is locked up. That son, that boy is still gonna go seek the approval or the advice or something from another man. Regardless if his mama is saying, hey, this, you're not supposed to be like this. This is how your daddy was, blah, 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 blah. They still gonna go out and get that validation from another man.
Yep.
My question is this. What is the definition of a man? What makes him a man other than their anatomy?
That's what the men said. It is funny that you say that because
you can't define, and I really hate when people try to define a man as, oh, what a man not supposed to cry, a man not supposed to be sensitive, a man's supposed to take out the trash, a man's supposed to know how to change a tire, a man's supposed to work hard. Damn, I must be a damn good man because I know how to do all of that. I mean,
speak on it. Yes.
I want to know, what is the definition of a man?
Look, unfortunately, today it's relative.
And what is the definition of a woman? Because if you look it up in the encyclopedia, not encyclopedia, dictionary, a man is an adult male. And a woman is an adult female. Meaning a girl that reached womanhood and a boy that reached manhood. So what is the definition of a man? What makes a boy a man? And so therefore, as a woman, I should be able to show or instill values or instill characteristics, because really what we're describing is characteristics, different characteristics that we think a man should have. I can teach that. And a person can show those characteristics that makes them a good man or a woman. So I'm like, what is a man?
And I think that you hit it. I think you hit it on the head, you know, the hammer on the head when you talked about the anatomy. That's the only difference. That's the only difference.
That's right.
That's the only difference. They piece standing
I
up and
agree
we piece
completely.
sitting down. And I know some men that used to piece sitting down. I mean, just
That's how they
listen to
start
them.
off.
Until you're taught how to stand up and hold it and put it in there, you don't know any better. So it is a taught thing. And I believe that it's all about the individual. When you want better, you do better. And in order to do better, you have to seek doing that. So if you was a once crackhead and you keep going to the crack house, how are you going to change yourself when you keep being surrounded by it? Just like if it's a guy who was always in the midst of some mess with his dad, his uncles, his brothers or whatever, and he say, hey, I don't want to be like this. I want to do better for myself. He's going to have to remove himself from that environment to go and change, grow, and evolve. Then maybe you could come back and try to teach something to those people to make them come on. It's better on this side. Same thing with a woman when it comes to, teaching a woman how to treat a man. I believe that it's all about the respect level that people have for each other. You have to have respect for somebody in order to, want to put forth effort. And at the end of the day, it's all about effort. I'm gonna put forth effort in treating this man the way that I know that I would want somebody to treat my brother, my daddy, my son, whoever, and vice versa. I just feel like it starts from the individual person.
And can I say something? As a mother of 4 boys, well, I had 5 boys. Wait a minute, how many I have? 4 boys. And I raised 3 on my own by myself as a single parent until I met my husband. And I instilled in them what I thought, especially what came from my father. And yeah, you do use another male to help build up that kid. And especially if it's a male kid, my father, helped a lot in that too. But I think as a female, and as you raising your kid, your sons, and if you put in the right ingredient, you're going to get a decent person. I can't tell him how to be a man. I can't tell him how to be with a woman. No, I could tell him how to treat and what not to do. But I think I raised some good boys. Forgive me, young men, because they don't want to be boys. and they do detour to other places sometime when they don't have that male figure. They detour to that street, and that's where you don't want them to go.
Yeah.
So whoever spoke on that, they telling the truth about that, because they do that.
Right.
But I feel as a female, and I did raise boys, I did a hell of a job. Without a male in my, without the male there.
Right. And I also feel like when you look in the mirror and you see who's looking back at you and don't recognize that person, it's up to you to change that reflection. And again, it starts from within. So if you don't like the way something is going in your life, you can't blame anybody else. It's up to you to change it, because it makes me sick to say, oh, you complete me. Oh, this person makes me happy. If you cannot first make yourself happy, how can you expect somebody else, give that much control over somebody to say, hey, my happiness lies with this person or whatever. So I just believe that the whole conversation, for me, it just stems from the individual person and what they desire to have for their lives.
I agree.
Right. Change is essential for everybody.
You just got to
want
to.
And if they want to make that change, they will.
Absolutely. So when it comes to generational cycles or curses, when it comes to the family structure, first of all, let me ask y'all this question. Family structure. What does that look like for y'all? Let me ask you, I want your answer first, Mama. When it comes to family structure, what does that look like for you?
Well, what it look like, I think me, myself, when you're doing family, it's like when it's all got to do with love and respect one another.
So it don't matter what it looked like. It could be husband, wife, kids. It could be whoever, partners.
What I mean about love. First of all, you got to put love in everything and anything you do. You got to love yourself. You got to love, respect your children, your husband or your wife, in order to get what you need in life. Because there's so much going on in life. If you don't see what's going on, you're just missing out on a lot of different things. But if you do things with your family and love your family and let them know that you love them, things will be better. But a lot of people don't do that and don't show that these days. So
family structure to you is love.
It's love.
Okay. Miss Debra, family structure, what does that look like for you?
I agree with your mother, and also togetherness. You have to do a lot together to have a strength there. Everybody can't be in separate ways and have structure in the family. So love is, number one, and togetherness and working with each other. We all do have to go our own ways sometime, but still bring that strength in as a family unity. And then I think things work out well that way,
Okay.
That's where I feel about it.
Okay. Porsha, family structure, what does that look like for you?
I believe, I agree with what's been said, whether it's, a man and a woman, 2 men, 2 women, whatever, like that family structure, kids, it has to start with love, and it also has to start with compassion and understanding. With so many different people and personalities, whether it's you and your spouse, and then once you throw kids in there, those are all different personalities. So if you're not willing to approach whatever it is, if you're not willing to approach each other with love, understanding, and compassion, it's all going to break down, and you're going to end up raising kids who, as we like to say now, have lots of toxic traits that they then, have to try to figure out how to work on it and work out. So, and they may or may not be willing to do that or see that, when they get older. But regardless of the physical makeup of the family, that foundation, that structure has to be love, compassion, and understanding.
Okay. Alisa, family structure, what does that look like for you?
For me, I'm going to definitely say, just by growing up in a Black Baptist church, so that was something that I wanted in my marriage. So like now, dating, I want to make sure the person that I'm with, that he has a relationship with God, because if not, we're definitely going to have issues. Communication, definitely respect, because I want him to be able to respect the fact that, okay, she, has her own career. She is independent, but I do want to depend on my significant other, because I would love for a month to come that, guess what, I don't have to pay any bills because he's going to take care of that. But living by myself for so long, it's like, no, I can do it.
I got it.
So it's like, but if there's a man who can respect the fact that, oh, that's your career, that's your money, I'm not intimidated by what you bring to the table, and he can still stand in his manhood, and we can still have the best relationship. I may not want children. Okay, so I need him to at least respect that. Or if he comes to the, table with children, do understand that I'm not gonna look at that as my stepchildren. Those are my bonus children. So I'm willing to accept him with extra people that he may bring to the table, or vice versa, because I may decide I want a child, or I want to become, an adopted mother. So accept me and my whatever I'm bringing to the table.
Right. Arlexia, family structure, what that look like to you?
I just echo what everybody else has said, like outside of the whole archetypal, what we might think of like husband wife type situation. I actually grew up where I had siblings outside of my parents' marriage. So in a sense, I've always been accustomed to a very blended family. And in many cases, I may not have always been super close with my siblings. So for me, friends have become family, but at the root of everything, as your mom has said, and so many other ladies, it's love. For me, it's going to be compassion. It's going to be lots of communication because let's face it, we can't read minds. And if we think that other people are going to read our minds, then I feel like we're already setting ourselves up for failure anyway. And also like a big thing that's just so big for me is like healing and understanding that like there's some evolution that's occurring. I'm not the same woman that I was in my 20s. And hopefully when I become 40, I won't be the same woman that I was in my 30s. And so for me, it's finding a partner that understands this growth, this evolution, that's patient. And then as a mom, that I'm doing the same thing with my kids, that I'm not trying to make little miniature versions of myself. And instead, I'm understanding their personalities, allowing them to be who they're going to be, but to still basically teach them values, love, kindness, not to be entitled little people, things like that that matter to me. So for me, in terms of just family structure as a whole, it's stuff that can't be bought. And it's just one of those things that I want to surround myself with people that are willing to basically do the work to become better versions of themselves.
Right. Erica, family structure, what that mean to you?
To me, when I think of family structure, I have to focus in on that word structure. You know, it is, something that you're trying to build. It is framework. So laying that foundation, and with that foundation, you have to have pillars to help lift it up and to keep it in place. And those pillars are all the things that the ladies have before me have already spoke about. It's love, the kindness, compassion, communication, respect. All that, respect. Those are the pillars that's going to keep that foundation stable, because you want balance. You want to make sure that everyone that's in that household, they receive the equal amount of love, the equal amount of respect, that everyone is getting the attention that they deserve. So for me, for my family, raising my kids, sometimes I was a single parent. Sometimes I was, in a marriage where it was a 2-parent household. And in that, during those times, whether I had a husband at the time or it was just me, I still ensured that everyone in my home received that same amount of attention, that same amount of love, that same amount of respect. Other things that I say about, structure of a family is instilling certain things, certain traditions, certain values that you have in that household. I made sure that my family, we sat down and we ate meals together. Whether I cooked the meal or if I didn't have time to cook that meal, I went out and I bought that meal and we sat down and we prayed, we said grace, and we ate dinner. Making sure that my kids had proper rest before going to school in the morning, making sure that their homework was done, making sure that they had their clothes laid out, making sure that, I talked with them to see about their day, what everything was going on in their lives, and also spending time, not just being an authoritative figure, being I'm the mama, you're going to do what I say. No, I did things with them. I took them out where we can, have fun times together. We played games at home. We watch movies. We still do that to this day. So to me, that is, structure, and building, something in my household. All of those pillars that we build, and you can have as many as you want, because the more pillars, you're going to have the
stronger the foundation. Yes.
Foundation gonna be. Yes. Even if you put a crack in the foundation, guess what? It can be fixed unless you let it go for a long time, and then guess what? It's hard to repair, but it can be repaired. And sometimes those pillars, that foundation does crack, but it's your job, even if you're the one person in the house or, the 2-parent, but it's everyone's job as the family, everyone's job to keep that structure in place, to rebuild together.
Absolutely. Key, what you have to say? Family structure, what does that look like for you?
I agree with everybody that went before me. Hold on, y'all. Let me move. They got loud as soon as you called them. I agree with everybody that preceded me, especially in saying those defined characteristics of having that communication, that love, that honesty, and respect. All of those are essential in this process for everybody. And like Erica was saying, I too have been the single mom, I've been the married mom, and I'm a mother of 2 boys. So just exhibiting those behaviors with them allows them to get those things inside of them and grow with them as they mature into men, and they'll learn how to and deal with women from how their mom dealt with them, how they've seen their mom being dealt with, how they've seen their grandmothers. So all of that just kind of go hand in hand. So build that foundation is very, very important.
Absolutely. Ingrid, family structure, what does that mean to you?
Definitely come from a 2-parent household. However, my mom and my dad's marriage was their second marriage, or is their second marriage. My mom's parents, they were married until one of them passed away. Both of them passed away. My father's parents, they were divorced before I was born. So thinking about my parents' relationship, I don't think to this moment, I don't think that back then when I was a impressionable girl, that I saw my mom or saw my dad teach me through actions how to be in relationship with one another, man to woman. I saw the roles, like my father would say, yes, I was a damn good father because I went to work and I kept a roof over your head and food on the table and clothes on your back. My mom can say she was a damn good mother because she went to work and she came home and she was home with us in the evening. She made sure we had something to eat. She made sure the house was clean. She made sure our homework got done. But as far as their relational aspect, I don't see it. I mean, yeah, they were good to each other because they came home to each other. There was no staying out or running around, not that I could see. But as far as the love, it was implied. Because I went to work and I brought my money home, my paycheck home, and I paid the bills. I love you. Or
wow. And I'm
I
glad
didn't
that
go
you
stay
say that.
out. I didn't go stay out, so therefore I respect you.
Right. I'm glad that you say that part because the guys got into it a little bit about that, how I think it was Nick that said how he does stuff for his wife on purpose. So he wants his son to know how he's supposed to be with his mate. And he wants his daughter to know how to be with her mate or whatever. So he said he kisses his wife. He shows affection because he didn't grow up with that. They didn't hug in his family. They didn't say, I love you in his family. He said the first time that he remembered his dad saying, I love you, he was 25 years old. He was always taught how you're not supposed to cry, suck it up. You're supposed to go to school, get a job, take care of whoever you with. Do you believe that that upbringing has shielded? And he did talk about that a little bit, how when he got with his wife, their family were huggers. He thought they were weird because he didn't come from that. He had to learn how to let her teach him how to be affectionate toward, each other, because that was normal for her and it was not normal for him, but he allowed himself to be open to that. So when it comes to the family structure, do you believe that it is pivotal for the woman and the man to be willing participants when it comes to being taught how to love the person they're with, not all women and not all men, because it varies. Like Erica said earlier, you're not going to try this. You ain't calling me your bitch. I ain't about to be your old lady, So can someone talk about that a little bit, about, the dynamics being changed when it comes to, gender roles and And then we'll talk about submission, because that's something that I want to hear all y'all talk about. Oh my God.
Well, okay, so I asked my younger brother, it's 14 years between the two of us, so he can say that he lived the life of an only child, because
yeah, the age
I was almost out of the house. But anyway, my younger brother is he's a wife and he has 4 kids. So I asked him not too long ago, what did you learn from dad how to treat your wife? I said, did you have conversations? Did he talk to you about things, or was it what you saw? And he said, you know what, Ingrid, I really think that a lot of it is how not to be.
Wow.
Not saying that, he said, don't get me wrong, I never saw dad hit mom. I never saw dad go out and cheat on mom. But it's just some things that was lacking from what I could see, that I wanted so much more for my relationship with my wife.
I agree with her. Wholeheartedly. Watching my parents as well, which my dad is deceased now, but it was always an implied situation for me as well. Now, no doubt, I kind of grew up as an only child too. And so the love was always there for me, and it was verbally expressed, but it was also shown. So I knew that I was loved by both of my parents, but I didn't see necessarily that love between them. Instead, my mom would always tell me, she's like, your dad was an amazing dad, but he was a piss poor husband. And so we had these conversations as I was old enough to understand. But then as I became an adult too, again, not placing blame on anyone, but being able to observe and see that each person had their own shortcomings. And so maybe what would have made the marriage better is communication. And I felt like there wasn't a lot of communicating that actually did occur. And again, just in terms of love in general, like the hugging and all of that, that was definitely not something that I saw in my household. Honestly, sometimes when I think back, because my dad could have this charismatic personality, and I feel like when he would drink, he would want to like hug on my mom and all of that, and I would feel like she would almost be repulsed. And so these are some of my memories as it relates to them. And so for me, it's sometimes I wonder, where it's like, okay, I knew that you loved him, or I knew that y'all loved each other, but was this just one of those things where, okay, we got married because this was the right thing to do, this is how we were raised, we had a child, all of these other things. Yeah, it's just so much that goes into that. Like, I'm happy that even before my dad passed away, we were able to have very like upfront and honest conversations about him, and even my mom. And his thing was always too, he's like, I love your mom, she was a great mother, but in terms of perhaps the woman that I wanted that fit more of my personality, like she just wasn't it. And I could respect that as well. So yeah, I feel like it goes back to everything that you said, KeKe, where it's an individual decision. Like, to be completely honest, I know, even as we talk about what is a man supposed to be, well, there are some men that are alphas and there are some that are more beta by nature. And I feel like even just when you talk to men, a lot of men don't respect other men that they feel like aren't aggressive or assertive, and you don't have this backbone. It's like, oh yeah, how the hell are you gonna let this woman boss you around and blah blah blah. And then there are some men who love women that are very sure and strong of themselves and independent, and there are those that, as you said, we're going to get to this submissive conversation. There are those that have strictly been raised where I want a submissive woman. And so again, for me, it all goes back to what it is that you value, what it is that you want as a person, and then being with somebody that's going to respect you, that's going to love you, and that's willing to work to meet you in the middle. Because I've definitely dated people that feel like it's weird to hug. They feel like it's weird to say I love you. Like this wasn't their dynamic. And that's mine. Like I'm a very like loving person, and like I know my damn love languages, and so I understand that that's not everybody's thing. Like you have to be willing to teach, because there are things within ourselves that we're not perfect. And so again, if you want to be with somebody, you'll learn that if it's like not a non-negotiable, you'll put in the work.
Putting in the work. And it's so amazing that you talked on those points, because we talked about love languages with the guys, because one of the guys was saying how he's dating and he come across a lot of women who say, well, I don't have time to teach a man how to love me. And he was like, well, how am I going to learn how to love you if you don't tell me or show me? We just going to be spinning in the wind looking crazy because you want this from me, but you're not telling me that you want it. Like you can't read minds. We clearly can't read minds. And then we had another dynamic where they talked about how a lot of women just feel like they should just look pretty and show up. And that's all it takes. And they was like, no. One person gave an analogy where they said, you have the king, the queen, the prince, and the princess of the house, or the castle. If the king is removed or the queen is removed, will that castle still function with someone not being there? That's how you know your worth and whether you're doing something that is effective for the entire castle. And I was like, wow, I've never looked at it like that, but you have to nowadays, because let's just be honest. I don't really feel like no one is being taught how to do anything when it comes to treating a woman, treating a man. It's something that you decide that you want to do. And yeah, you may ask questions from people like, mama, how should I do this? How should I do that? But at the end of the day, people are stuck in tradition, beliefs, and some of that stuff needs to be altered to fit what works for you inside of your relationship. So when it comes to that particular thing, I think that brings us to submission. How I'm not going to say all men think this way or all women think this way, but when it comes to submission, I think society has made it so brainwashed where they feel like submission is bowing down or being belittled or just doing whatever your mates say. What do you guys think when it comes in terms of submission in a relationship, whether it's a marriage, or partnership or what have you?
So reading about submission in the Bible, I looked at that as, okay, this is going to be my blueprint, because I didn't see the relational aspect of wife, husband with my mom and dad. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I'm going to apply submissiveness to my marriage, me as a wife. There are so many things that I misunderstood that's clear in the word, but I misunderstood because I wanted to be the better wife than I saw my mother or my grandmothers be. Not knocking them, not saying that they were not all of that, but right. I wanted to show up differently. So yeah, if a woman or a wife is being submissive, but her husband does not know how to receive that or know the true meaning of what it is to be submissive, it's going to be mistreated. She's going to be treated as a tool. And if you don't know the reason for a thing or the true purpose for a thing or a person that's in your life, you're not going to know how to appreciate them. You're going to use them as a tool. Right. And as a tool, what happens with a tool? You use it and then you put it aside.
Wow. Wow. Okay, Miss Debra, I know you wanted to say something, ma'am. Go ahead. You have the floor.
I like what she said, and to be submissive, that's difficult. because I'm so independent. I do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I'm not going to be used as a tool, just like she said.
Right. And I think, Mama, I want to hear you say, when it comes to submission, what does that mean to you? Because you and Dad have been married for what, 45 years? Yeah, 45 years. That's a long time to love somebody.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, because I'm gonna just go, you don't submit to Daddy.
No, not all the time.
And to say this woman is not submissive woman.
Not all the time, because certain things that I want going my way, and he wanted to go his way, and I don't think it's supposed to go his way.
You want things to be your way all the time.
No, that's what she thinks. That's what she thinks.
My sister,
For instance, like if I want my bedroom fixed a different way, I want that, and he said he don't want it like that. Okay, I'm the lady. I'm supposed to have it the way I want it.
So he's supposed to submit to you when it comes to that bedroom?
Yes, because a lady know how she want her stuff and how she want to look and how she want to smell or whatever. It's just like a certain dish that she want to prepare, right? Okay.
Right.
If he want to eat hamburgers, I don't want no hamburger, but I'm gonna make sure he eat that.
You're gonna make it for him.
I'm gonna make it
yourself to him and make that burger.
I'm gonna make that hamburger.
But we're gonna eat steak or something.
We're gonna eat what I want to eat, but he have different tastes than what I have. He don't eat what I like to eat.
All jokes aside, though, do you believe that submission is misconstrued when it comes to a man thinking that his wife is supposed to just bow down and do whatever he says when it comes to that term submission?
No, I do not.
Okay.
No, I do not.
Because I asked you that question because the guys said that submission goes both ways. All of them said that. Submission goes both ways. I need to be able to submit to my husband, and he needs to be able to submit to me. It's not one-sided when it comes to that. And I think that we live in olden times when it comes to that submission.
It's a lot different now.
It is. It's a whole lot different. Miss Debra, I know you want to jump in there.
A lot different.
I agree with that. It's both sides. I agree with that. And I'm with your mom. I've been married 37 years, and I want things my way. Like if I want to decorate this way, I want it that way. And sometimes I don't get it that way, but still, like you said, it's a two-sided thing. And
Deborah, do you think it's that way because we are the heart of the home?
I believe that it's that way because women are the heart of the home.
In regards to submission, or the way?
No, in regards
wanting what you want.
Wanting our house to look a certain way.
Right.
Because we make the house the home.
Yes, we do. I'll agree to that.
I want to add
24/7.
Yes, I want to speak on that. What Miss Ingrid said, I do believe that, because I know, KeKe, you were speaking on royalty at one point. And do you know, okay, I'm not a chess player, but in chess, the king is the most important piece of the game, but the queen is the most powerful piece of the game.
Right.
And also in royalty, right? When a woman marries a king, she's automatically a queen. She's automatically a queen. She shares her husband's status and his power. But guess what? When a man marries a queen, he is not a king. No, he is a prince. Yeah. And even in her death, he does not take her throne. So yes, I do believe that we want things the way that we want it, because with submission, right? A woman would not have a problem with submission, because to me, submission means love with your whole heart. It means love with your whole heart. And when a man loves his wife, he's supposed to love her like Christ loved the church, which he gave his life for her. Mm-hmm. So most men ain't willing to give you a damn thing, let alone his life, which means that he loved this woman. He's going to give up certain things of his life to make her happy. Therefore, if he makes her happy, what do they say? A happy wife makes a happy home. Meaning that if he have to give up drinking because he's a drunkard, for his wife, if he'd have to give up being with other women, if he have to give up swearing, he have to give up smoking, he have to give up staying out late. Sometimes he may have to give up the money. He may have to give up his laziness and help around the house. He may give up, not being silent and communicating and give up your opinion on certain things. So therefore, he have to give up something to be with her if he love her. And then when he loves her and he's loving her with her whole heart, that woman is going to love him back with her whole heart. Therefore, they're both being submissive to one another. It's going to come equal. When it comes to decorating the bedroom, that man going to be like, baby, do what you want. I do what you want. If it's going to make you happy, I don't care. I'm just going to sleep in it anyway. You ask them what they want to eat. Most of the time, they don't know what they eat. But if you cook them a hot meal, guess what? He going to be happy with it.
Unless it's something he don't eat.
No, he ain't gonna agree on that.
You know that man, you don't
know what to cook.
Yeah, right. You gonna cook something that he gonna eat.
All of that right there, getting to know a person. Once you're in a marriage, it shouldn't be that hard because the courtship is where you're supposed to get to know one another. During the courtship is when you're supposed to know if this man like mashed potatoes or he like macaroni and cheese or if he like the color blue, this right here. So that means if you done got into this marriage and you don't know this person you married to, the courtship wasn't right from the beginning. And yes, I do believe people change because we are ever evolving human beings.
Absolutely.
But certain things about a person that you got grown to that shouldn't change. It's certain characteristics that's going to stick to you. Those morals and those values that's enrooted deep in you are never going to change.
Right.
Change your hairstyle. You might change the clothes that you wear, but you can't change what's already in your heart. Like you can't change that. Right. And that's what a person falls in love with, your heart.
Amen.
Yep.
I think where a lot of people have it messed up these days is they think that the word submissive means to be someone's servant, when in actuality being submissive to each other, especially whoever it is that you're in a relationship with, it means a willingness to compromise.
Right.
That's essentially what it is.
That's right.
And I'm glad, KeKe, you said that the guys was like, I need to be submissive to my wife as well as she be submissive to me. That's what it is. It's being submissive to each other is knowing each other and have a willingness to compromise so that you all can achieve that common goal, which is staying together, whatever that family unit is, and having those foundations. And we not cracking this foundation for nothing. That's truly what it is. And I think people have it messed up today because, unfortunately, because of social media, certain books as well, and how they portray what it is or what it means to be submissive. And those people have it messed up. Like, for some people think being submissive means to be somebody else's slave, and it's not. Like, those are two very different things. But yeah, that's my thought on it. Being submissive to your partner is just a willingness to compromise, not give up who you are, but willingness to compromise where you both come together and come to an understanding on whatever it is.
Right. Anybody else want to touch on submissive, being submission before we move on?
I want to say one thing I did notice in the word, that it says, husbands, love your wives, and wives, respect your husband. So I believe for the man to be submissive to the woman, he has to love her. And for the woman to be in the right way, for the woman to be submissive to her husband, she has to respect him.
I agree.
Two different things.
Amen.
But both desired.
I agree. When it comes to being selfless in a relationship, do you believe that we are in a world of selfish and vain individuals who just don't want to compromise when it comes to showing themselves in a more submissive role in relationships? Meaning, do they look at their friends and say, man, if I love this man the way that I want to love him and that he deserved to be loved, they're going to look at me like, oh man, she just, whatever. Do you believe that people allow friendships to dictate their relationships and cause all of these different types of dynamics going to the left?
I say yes, but excuse my language. Those are childish ass people. Like, if you are going to allow your friends to dictate what the hell we got going on, then chances are I don't want to be with you anyway, because I'm just not that type of woman. And bringing it back to just being selfless, to me, it goes kind of like, that's a word that can go hand in hand with submission. And what Miss Ingrid said, the whole respect factor. Me knowing who I am, I'll never submit if I don't respect you. And so, again, you said this all night, KeKe. To me, it's just about self and understanding what truly works for you. Like, case in point, I remember I was at work recently and I was just killing time, and I was listening to Gary with the T on Ricky Smiling. And so they were talking about Megan Good and Devon Franklin and how they think that this marriage might be over because they haven't seen pictures of them on social media in 6 months. And it's like, again, we feel like we deserve to have access to other people's lives. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes we freely give it. But you just have to know, once again, to me, it's stay in your own lane. When it comes to friendships as well, know what it is that you're willing to tell your friends and your family, mm-hmm. because you can go and divulge a whole bunch of information. And the reality is that you might forgive this man and or woman, but family and friends hold grudges. Yeah. So again, I feel like us as individuals, like, you have to decide how you are going to move with your significant other. And yeah, in terms of social media, whether you're actively on it and or not, it's like y'all have to actively, like, and intentionally communicate about what it is that's going to work for you guys, mm-hmm. and be rooted and stand firm on that. Because right. Everybody has a whole bunch of opinions. And I feel like if you're not rooted in self and then your own relationship, it's so easy to be swayed by what other people have to say.
Right. Absolutely.
So, like Aretha Franklin said, I don't need nobody around me and my man.
Yeah. Absolutely. I just feel like, people tend to talk too much when it comes to that, telling friends too much, telling family too much. I don't believe that you should do that, because then the sense of respect is lost, because now your husband, your partner or whatever is looking at you like, why did you even tell them that? How could you let them into our relationship? So I think that it's a thin line, and you just have to choose your battles when it comes to who to tell what and let different people into the dynamics of your relationship. Now, mm-hmm. I was talking about this with a friend, and I want to get you guys' take on it before we get on out of here. And we have been talking about why is it said that men are taught how to treat women, but women are not taught how to treat men. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys for joining me. When it comes to the gender roles and having a relationship with the opposite sex, how do you handle my way is the best way, or you mean you need me to tell you how to do this mentality from your mate? Don't all y'all jump in at once.
Well, okay, so to give context of how I approach that now. All right, so I'm engaged to be married again, but my first marriage, 20 plus years. So I looked at it being submissive the incorrect way. I would be like, my husband would say, it's gonna be this way. And I would submit and not really agreeing, but then found myself holding a grudge about it.
Mm.
So now going forward in my new relationship, I'm like, okay, we need to discuss, we need to communicate. Why do you feel your way is better? And if we're going to operate our marriage along the lines of the way God intends, the man is the head, the woman is the heart. To me, neither one of them rules the other. We come into an agreement. And sometimes we have to agree to disagree. Or, okay, I'm going to let you have this one, but next time it may be me that you're letting me have the say so.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to communication and respecting one another, what their view is. Let's say if it's finances, and you, as one of you, may have a degree in finance, and you may truly understand how the money is going to work in that particular situation. Well, then okay, it's okay for you to have this way, for you to have it your way.
Okay.
Communication and respect.
For me, I think it depends on the situation. And I say that because when I was married, one of the things that I didn't enjoy doing, but I did, was cooking. So X knew this. She does not enjoy cooking. The one time I went to work, came home, was excited about preparing a dish for him. Asked him, well, how was it? His words to me were, it was okay, but it wasn't like my mom's and my grandmother's. At that moment, I decided never again would I cook for him, ever again. And I didn't. And so that, if he didn't like it, I mean, that was a way that he could have said it, because he enjoyed cooking, and maybe we could have cooked something together. He could have given me lessons. But so for me, it just depends on the situation, because I am known for holding a grudge. And you know what? Okay. So hopefully he's not repeating that cycle. But moving forward, like whenever I do get serious again, there's just going to be things that I'm going to communicate. Like, hey, this is what I'm going to tolerate. This is what I'm not going to tolerate. And then I want him to share the same thing with me. So that way we're on the same page. And then hopefully both of us we're able to know, what, this is going to be a great fit, or what, this is not going to work out. And we both want to save each other time and headache.
Right. So you think that it's all about the delivery when it comes?
I think that, and the person, because someone else, another female may have not been as offended by that statement. Mm-hmm. But with me, it's like, no, because you know how I am. I wear my feelings on my sleeve. Yes. So, sir, you have to come correct. Like, I don't have time for that, especially if I'm mindful of how I relate, give my feedback or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And then you did something outside of your comfort zone, something that you didn't really like doing. So where's the appreciation? Just say, I appreciate it, babe, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to touch on this? My way is the best way, or you need me to show you how to do something?
Well, communication, like always, is the best thing. Compromising is too. But some things I think we are more wiser at when it comes to some stuff. And that's where the communication come in at, because they may think of something another way, and it's not exactly what should be, because I think women are wiser most of the time. And sometimes it works out that way too, when you compromise and you communicate what's what and what's not. But not all the time, but I do think we are wise.
But do you think that
so communicate?
Miss Debra, do you think that that type of mentality stems from how it was done back in the day, where women were more domestic and men were more going out working and bringing home the bacon, and she frying it up, having that, okay, I know best. What do you know?
You know what? You know what? My father, he worked his butt off. He took care of my mother. He took care of us. My mother did what she was supposed to do in the household. But my mother was so strong. So I can't see it, you know, like some of you will, because she was so strong, and that's what I saw. But I knew my dad was a good man, and he provided for us. Never wanted anything. And then they did do things together to make sure things was right.
Right.
But I know my mother was so independent, I took some of that. So, you know, I'm going to have a voice, you know, either way it goes, not trying to take over, but I'm going to be voiceful on something that, you know, we need to think about.
And I asked you guys,
as one.
I asked you ladies this question because I asked it to the guys, and the guys were like, no, I need to know. And they talked about the alpha male and the beta male. And he said, and one of the guys was saying, most men who think that they're alpha males are not alpha males. Alpha males know how to accept their strengths and acknowledge their weaknesses, get out of the way and let the woman or whoever they're partnered with take some arrows until he can go and recharge and refill, and then come back and say, well, baby, you know what? I got it. Thank you. Let me go ahead and take care of this for you, for us. So that's why I asked the question, because the points that they made, I was speechless, because I did not know that conversation was going to go the way it went on certain points. So that's why I wanted to ask you guys your take on that type of mentality. Do you think that it's just some men are just like, it's my way or the highway, or some men just, they don't know how to lead? So if you step up and try to become that leader, that they get so bound up in their emotions or their feelings, and they lash out by having that, you don't know what you're talking about, or my way is the right way type mentality.
I think that's a little toxic. That's toxic behavior. That means you lack communication. You don't know how to communicate your feelings. Because when an alpha male thinks he's an alpha till he run into an alpha female. And then he's challenged. But you know, you just have to, like I think Alisa was saying, the delivery have to be better. When you love someone and you respect someone, you're gonna take in mind before speaking to them, you know, that way, because verbal abuse is real. Yeah. Emotional abuse is real. Yeah. And before it becomes physical, it's emotional and doggone verbal abuse first. So that is very toxic, for you to say that you love a person and put down on them with a simple statement because of them doing a nice gesture or trying to help. You know, if you believe that your way may be better, then it's a better way to talk to that or reach that agreement than saying on my way or the highway. Well, bye, because I see right now I don't need to be on your highway. You know, it's toxic behavior.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree with that statement, and I agree with it. It definitely depends on the delivery as well, because if a guy who says that, like just like your sister just said, sends up all kinds of red flags, like that's toxic, that's immature. You know, that's so very immature. Like, okay, we're not in the sandbox. I need you to actually use your words and think this through and communicate. So like your sister said, if that's how you feel, I will quickly find another expressway. Like there's exits.
Exactly. But you know what? Porsha, I do think that it goes back to males are not taught how to communicate their feelings, because they're taught to express their feelings. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to be, you know, emotional or sensitive or whatever. So they don't know how to communicate. And they have to learn it. And I think most men, they don't feel comfortable communicating, especially with a woman, because they really have to let their guard down and love them wholeheartedly before they can like be themselves. You know, it takes time for them to like really trust, someone and really show that vulnerability, that side of them. So they're not taught to communicate. That's what we need to start teaching them. We need to start teaching them how to speak with their words, how to, communicate instead of suppressing those feelings.
Yeah, because that turns into something deeper, something, that you may not be able to come back from. It stems resentment and all kind of other underlying issues that could have been avoided with a simple conversation. And I did ask the guys this question about, do you believe that it's fair to whoever is in the relationship, because someone was raised a certain way, they stick to that and move into the relationship saying, well, I'm not going to do this because I was raised this way. So I don't want to compromise. I don't want to change. I don't want to do that. What would you guys say to someone who is listening, who is dealing with someone that is stuck in their ways and that don't want to get out of that comfort zone or put forth the work to learn how to communicate and comprehend? Because you can communicate all day long, but if people are not comprehending what the hell is being said, that's a whole nother story. So what would you say to the listener who is frustrated because they want the communication, but it's not coming because their partner is stuck in their ways?
They are going to stay frustrated until they get out that situation. If the person is not willing to change, if they are not willing to compromise, if they are not open to actually listening to understand and comprehend what their partner is telling them, not only do they lack respect for their partner, they also lack love for their partner. They lack respect and love for themselves, because if they are really trying to give of themselves and be in a partnership, you have to love yourself enough to be able to love someone else to that degree to where you're willing to understand and listen to their side and compromise. So if a person is stuck in their ways because I'm not willing to do this because this is how I saw it growing up, that's like working at a place, at a company that's stuck using Windows 98 because that's what they've always used. Like, like, I need you to grow. They're not willing to grow. And because they don't love themselves enough, they're not willing to grow. They don't see their own flaws. They don't see their own faults. You're going to stay frustrated until you get out of that situation.
I totally agree. Because if you don't want to listen and don't want to agree on what your mate trying to tell you, you're just wasting time. You're really just hurting yourself, because you want that person to really just sit down and talk about it and listen and try to resolve it. But if you don't try to do that, what else can you do? Just leave them alone.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we're coming down to our second to last question of the night. And we have gone a little bit over. Oh, Lord. We've gone over. Let me tell you. I wanted to touch on this this a little bit. And I didn't go into it with the guys because we would have probably still been talking. If men are truly taught how to treat women, then why are there so many sexual assaults and domestic violence happening toward women?
Well,
do you believe that it's an individual thing, or do you believe that it's a demon thing?
It's both.
It's both. In regards to assaulting women?
No, like sexual assaults, domestic violence, like the question was, men are taught how to treat women, but women are not taught how to treat men. And my counter question was, if men are truly taught how to treat women, then why are there so many sexual assaults and domestic abuse against women?
This is a very deep conversation, but I would also beg to answer or ask, who's doing the teaching? So if we as women are also doing the teaching, are we teaching them the correct way? And then sometimes I think the saying is, do as I say, not as I do. I don't believe that bullshit. I'm gonna do what you do, sis. And so think about some of the men that have grown up with perhaps women or mothers who you tell me one thing, but this is what I see. I've seen somebody verbally abuse you. I've seen someone physically abuse you. And so for me, perhaps they can become byproducts of that strictly because this is what they saw in their childhood. Again, I'm not saying that this is the right thing, but I feel like a lot of this stuff is like cyclical or cyclical. So again, it's what have you seen? And then you've internalized it, and then you go on and kind of do the same thing. And on the flip side, I truly believe that yes, there are some men that are just absolutely perverse and disgusting, and they like to have power over women. And one person that comes to my mind, he was a Saints player, Darren Sharper. And I'm like, sir, you were fine as hell to me.
Yes.
You didn't have to do any of this to women. Like, but here you were abusing, raping, and all this other stuff that you were
Drugging and everything else.
So, yeah, so it's like, to me, it can go either way. There are men that prey on women and you like to have the power. And then there are, I feel like, again, not to make excuses, but it's like, what have you been taught? Not only what have you seen, but also what is your mom or the women in your life also teaching you in terms of how to treat a woman. And so I feel like, not to be disrespectful, but not every woman is out here giving great information.
KeKe, you also, I mean, to add to your question about the sexual assault, what about those men who are womanizers? Who have a string of women? I mean, that's wrong too. Just as wrong as the sexual abuse, the assaults.
Well, I'm, you know, I asked that question, but it goes, for me, my answer is the same. I believe it's all about the individual. Because if you are a child and you saw your mom being disrespected or your mom being physically assaulted or whatever, whoever you may have seen it happen to, something in my mind, because I know how I would be, would say, you know what, this is not right, because of the emotion that that woman experienced after it happens. This messed her up. Something is not right. I don't want to make somebody else feel that way. So therefore, I'm gonna do everything in my power not to become that, or not to be associated with that. And, you know, if I have kids or whatever, I'll say, you know, this is wrong. This is not what you do. You show people with respect. You also demand respect. It's just communication, being assertive, putting it out there before it comes back in. Because, you know, my son is about to be 13 years old, and I want to make sure that he knows that you respect women, respect yourself. But at the same time, we've all seen videos circling on social media where you have this girl beating the hell out of somebody's son. Couldn't be my son, because I've been found her with the ass. Like, I'm not about to do that. So don't allow somebody to put their hands on you, but don't you do it either. But if it comes to that, I want you to be able to protect yourself. No, I'm not saying that you whoop on a woman or whatever, but it's levels to it. So
I think to some degree it goes back to my earlier statement of, like, a woman being able to raise or teach a growing boy to be a good person, but not necessarily how to be a good man. Because until that growing boy sees those good man qualities in a positive example in another man, it's not going to translate in their head. And unfortunately, because, as I said earlier, we're not always raised, because we're raised to be independent, we're raised to be strong, we're not always raised to need a man. Some women are raised to be so strong to the point where they don't show emotion.
Right.
So because they don't show emotion, even if they have that man that's abusing and mistreating them, and their son or even their daughter is seeing that, they don't know, it doesn't compute in their head, especially as a child, that their mother is actually hurting mentally and physically and emotionally from that abuse. So they see that and they think well, this is what I'm supposed to do because this is what my mother allowed to happen to her. So this is how I'm supposed to then go in and treat any female that I come in contact with.
Right.
So it is such a vicious circle that I think as a whole, as we all need to unlearn, you know, just as a whole, because unfortunately, you know, it's a cycle. It's going to repeat itself over and over again until somebody has the sense to say, hey, this is not what I want for myself.
Right. It has to be broken at some point.
Right.
Some point. Okay, last question of the night, lady. On a personal note, what would you tell your younger self in this very moment about how a man is supposed to treat you? And I would like to get everybody's answer to this. Mama, want to go first?
Well, I would tell her or him.
Her, you talking about your younger self?
Her. To just like find somebody that you really know. And not only that, find somebody that's gonna be kind, love, and also he got to be a man of God in order to like respect you and love you and willing to do some things with you, like doing some things together to find out what kind of person that is and what kind of person that you want out of him and respect of him. Because once you do that, just falling into a relationship with somebody that you don't know, that it might be good in a way, and then it might be in a bad way. So if you do things together, you'll get to know that person, and that way you can get there. You can respect that person and want to be with that person and love that person.
I would tell her to love herself more, explore more of a relationship with herself. And then when that is mastered, then it's time to, if she so desired, then it's time to seek a relationship with someone else. Just love herself more. Explore what she likes, what she dislikes, what's a deal breaker, okay, I can deal with that. More of that is what I would tell her.
Okay, Erica?
So what I would tell my younger self is be the reflection that you want looking back at you. Meaning that, you know, show what you want to receive. You know, put out into the world what you want to reap. So pretty much that is what I would tell my younger self. And also to the younger me, I would tell her, it's from Solomon. It's many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. Mm-hmm. Meaning that you can go out there looking for love, just thirsting for love, and never be fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And when you find it and you reach, you know, maybe some obstacles, you got to believe that nothing can flood it, nothing can drown it, you know, not true love. So pretty much that is what I would tell my younger self. Okay. That's what I tell myself today.
Yeah. What would you tell your younger self right now about today's topic when it comes to, you know, men knowing how to treat you?
What would I tell myself?
Your younger
as a younger me?
Mm-hmm.
My younger self.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. I have to think about that one because woo.
I'll come back
my
to
younger
you.
Self. Yeah, come back to me.
Okay. Alisa, what would you tell your younger self?
Number one, pay attention to the signs.
Yeah.
Don't make excuses for why he is doing XYZ. Number two, just as I pray for, you know, job and degrees, okay, be intentional about my prayer. Lord, I want XYZ. And just because he doesn't answer my prayer on my time, don't think he's forgotten about me. Just keep the faith, just like I do with everything else. And then number 3, don't be so caught up in what my circle is doing. And I say that because my circle of friends were all getting married at the same time. And because I had been with my guy for so long, I'm like, oh, it's time for us to get married. No, because what works for them clearly didn't work for me. So those would be the 3 things.
Okay. Arlexia.
Everybody said such good stuff already.
Yeah.
But for starters, as Ingrid has said, to really and truly like know yourself. So I would tell my younger self to, as much as I invest in myself educationally and academically, to invest in my interests, to figure out the things that I like and actually what works for me. So even as Alisa just said, not to be caught up in everybody else's situation, not comparing my life, my journey to someone's Instagram highlight reel, because again, what's happening is we're always going to show you the wins. Rarely are we going to tell you that things are going bad in our lives. So again, understand that it's my own journey and I need to be intentional about it. Be patient, because Lord knows I don't have patience. And I think lastly, it's just have fun, because I realized that since I was so young, I have been socialized to be a perfectionist. And sometimes I have to stop and realize that I don't even know what letting my hair down and having fun looks like, because I've never had the opportunity to. I've always had to be this person. And it's like really understanding truly what authenticity looks like for me, and to know that those that mind won't matter and those that matter won't mind.
Yep, love that. Porsha.
I'm going to have to echo what Ingrid said, because for me, in trying to work on myself, I know that a lot of the issues I had in my past with men, the men I attracted, the things I tolerated and let slide and stuff, was a result of me not loving myself enough. So I would tell my younger self, love yourself more.
Thank you. Yep.
Like, yeah, everything in the relationship and what you put into it all comes from your idea of self-love and self-worth. So to love myself and to value myself more, so that way I can be the better person and also attract the type of person that will value that and that is willing to accept that, so that you don't have to deal with so much of the junk.
Right. Love it. All right, Miss Debra, we back to you, girl.
Okay, all right. I like what she said, because I had this right here on my paper, self-care. You got to love yourself first to know what you're getting into. And then and to look at them, those red flags, because your instincts tell you a whole lot. And to communicate.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's what I have.
This has been an awesome, awesome episode. Again, ladies, I thank you so much for kicking it with KeKe. I thank all of the listeners who are tuned in. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and tell somebody about Kicking It with KeKe, love life, and all that other shit. We changing the narrative up in here. We change the narrative. We are starting conversations that are uncomfortable, but are necessary to change the narrative within our community as far as family structure, friendships, relationships, what have you. So I am here every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I will see you guys back next week, same time.